Friday, Baylor College of Medicine and Friends of Baylor. What a week. Lots to talk about this week. Mostly good news. If you look at the worldwide data, cases for COVID-19 are finally going down pretty consistently. And even Japan, Japan is now dropping like a stone after they had that huge peak, but, after opening their economy. It was a decision they made, but, probably the right decision. And they're getting better. If you look at the U.S. data, cases are beginning to trickle down. It's not as fast as I'd like, that none of us would like. And the good news is hospitalizations are falling a lot, even 15% down from last week, and particularly in the age group over the age of 70. So that's all good news. If you look at mortality is finally beginning to drop. It's, I've mentioned all the time, it's a lagging indicator, usually 2 to 4 weeks following infection numbers. So this is looking better. And of course, Harris County, we're actually really good. We're under 200 cases, 152, down from 163. That's normalized per 100,000. One of our viewers asked, are we normalizing data? Yes, we are, per 100,000. And 11 admissions to the hospital per 100,000. So we're in a moderate risk by CDC standards. Our friends in Dimmitt County, we love Dimmitt County, and I've been following the Haviland newspaper. They are also moderate, 49 cases down from 109 and 20 admissions per 100,000. So they're in a good shape too. They're doing well. Here in the Texas Medical Center, our numbers continue to improve. We're down to 8.7% of cases being positive, and our hospitalizations are continuing to drop down around 129 per day. So that was really actually very, very good. Little concern that for the first time everything's been looking good. I was getting very enthusiastic. One concern is the wastewater. Wastewater numbers, as you can see, they were dropping and now they're plateauing. And we don't really know why that's the case, but it's very interesting. We've been following this BA 4.6 variant. Remember I mentioned 98.9% of all the variants are now BA 4 and 5, but there's this one little sneaky one, BA 4.6, which is a diversion from BA 4, is now up to about 9% and is growing. And I'm wondering, we don't know yet, but I'm wondering if that's part of the reason why we're seeing a slowing in the decline of wastewater numbers, because it may be that we're seeing an increase in infections with this BA 4.6. We'll have to follow that, but that's the only piece of data that is concerning it. Remember, wastewater predicts what's going to happen by about a week or two, so if it's plateauing in the wastewater, it's likely that our case numbers will begin to plateau as well. So, we can't underestimate the impact that COVID-19 has had on the world and in human survival and life expectancy. I talk a lot about life expectancy. It's a very fascinating thing because from 1870 to 2019, you can see humans just increase their life expectancy almost in a linear fashion, gaining about 3 years of life for every decade. And most of these were the advancements through initially civil engineering, wastewater management, drinking water management, and then vaccines, and then new forms of therapies. Vaccines had a huge impact from the 1920s through the 50s and 60s. So tremendous impact on human survival. The only trouble is the last 2 years, just to show you, first 2 years in 150 years that we've actually had a drop in life in survival and life expectancy. And it's been both in 2020 and 2021. So that is due, actually, in fact, due to COVID. So if you look at what is the impact, you can see a negative, this big bar going negative. That is the impact that COVID-19 had on the survival of humans in the last 2 years. So enough about COVID. Let's change to another disaster. No, monkeypox. So the good news about monkeypox, it's beginning to fall. So you can see pretty clearly that the numbers are coming down. We have 22,000 cases in the United States, and we finally had the first death reported of a man in Los Angeles who was presumably immune compromised. So, there's not really a lot of therapy for monkeypox. There are vaccines, but not a lot of therapeutics. There's one antiviral that is under investigation. It's called TPOXX. It's tecovirimat. That's available for patients through a randomized trial that the NIH is sponsoring, but it's also available on what's called expanded access. So if someone's really sick, physicians can get it to treat patients with monkeypox. Now, this particular antiviral was approved in a special way. It was called animal rule regulations because you couldn't do a clinical trial. It's really designed to treat smallpox, which, as you know, is eradicated. And so how do you do a trial? So they do it in animal models. And based on the animal data, it was in non-human primates. This particular antiviral was very effective. And so it was opened up for randomized clinical trials to see if it would be effective in monkeypox. So that's good news. Hopefully we'll have something, an antiviral to treat it. Meanwhile, for the vaccines for monkeypox, there really are two vaccines, AMCAN 2000 and the Jynneos one. One is a live virus, ACAM 2000, where you get one injection, you get sort of an inflammatory response in your shoulder, and you resolve it, and you develop an immune response to it. The other Jynneos one is a 2-shot regimen, and it's very effective. It's about 85% effective, but it requires 2 shots. So there are vaccines for monkeypox if someone's exposed. The other big news is polio virus. The New York governor declared a state of emergency with evidence of expanding presence of polio virus in New York. There are now 5 counties, Rockland County, Orange County, Sullivan County, New York City, and now Nassau County. And the interesting thing was the sample from Nassau County was very similar to the one in Rockland County. So that's a little disturbing because that means there is community spread of this polio virus. And it has produced a disease in one person that was a paralysis disease. So, you know, we talked a little bit about this, but if you didn't get vaccinated for whatever reason for polio, you really should be vaccinated. So, especially for folks from other countries who immigrated to the United States and not always got a polio vaccine, if you have not received the polio vaccine, you really should get vaccinated. And of course, flu season is upon us. Now, it's very hard to predict what's going to happen with flu season, but we often follow Australia because Australia is, you know, opposite seasons. So Australia had a big flu season this year. And you can see by this red peak, this was the flu season in Australia this particular winter for them, summer for us. But you can see back, you know, when we were wearing masks in 2018, there was virtually nothing. And then these 2 peaks were before the pandemic. So when the pandemic years, because everyone was being very careful about communicable diseases, the flu season was suppressed. Now that everyone's taking masks off and, you know, going back to business as usual, you've got gigantic flu season in Australia. So don't forget to get your flu vaccine. I'm going to get mine this week. But everybody needs to get vaccinated for the flu. Finally, I want to end today with a bunch of shout-outs. First of all, big shout-out to my good friend Tom Kaplan, who's had an important birthday. He was the founding member of our President's Circle, so happy birthday to you, Tom. Also, big shout-out to our Wastewater group. The Taylor team, our molecular virology and microbiology group, really were the ones working with Rice in the city of Houston that started our whole wastewater analysis well before anyone else was doing it. And, you know, they did such a great job. It was so helpful for us to follow what was going on in the city. They're continuing that, and now they're screening for monkeypox, for polio, SARS, influenza, and many other viruses. And this is all under a 2-year program that the Texas legislature supported in creating the Texas Epidemic Public Health Institute. And that's based at the University of Texas Health Science Center with our colleague Dr. Eric Boerwinkle as the dean of the School of Public Health there leading the effort. This is a really good surveillance team effort by all of us, UT, us, Rice, and the city. So really great, looking forward to being able to follow closely what's going on here in the city. Also, this is Women in Medicine Month. The American Medical Association has designated September. I have no idea why September, but September is Women in Medicine Month, and we're highlighting the accomplishments of our women physician providers, medical trainees in Baylor and elsewhere, and of course, I have to acknowledge my wife, who's the dean of the School of Medicine at Duke. I also want a big shout out to Dr. Albion Hargrave, class of 1969, who just dropped by. He's been in the Indian Health Service for many years. Great guy, just wanted to come by and visit. He's living in California, so it's great to see him walk in. And of course, the exciting news this week was a visit by President Masisi, the president of Botswana. And he brought his wife, First Lady Neo Jane Masisi, and members of the delegation this year. We've had more than a 20-year partnership with Botswana, including the founding dean of their medical school. So great visit, wonderful country. They've done a fantastic job of managing not only HIV, but the pandemic as well. So have a great weekend. and I can't wait to see you next week. Okay, here. Let me get it. This is for you.
Texan Longhorn.
This is a Texan. This is the him.
Really?
Yes. You have both.
you so
I know you love that.